Celeste is a pixel art platformer that is known for being quite difficult, so I did a blind run, I have some thoughts, let's get into it. The game opens and it asks why I am so nervous, which I find to be an odd way to open up a platformer, but sure, whatever you say, game.
Hello, it is me.
I brought through some initial tutorial.
Oh. Alright.
This bird tells me some controls and I meet this old lady. I am greatly confused at first by these weird squeaky sounds being made in lieu of voice acting, and I wasn't really expecting there to be dialogue in this game in the first place. I thought overall it was kind of weird at first, but I do absolutely love the granny's laugh. The prologue ends with a seemingly impossible jump from breaking platforms when time freezes and I'm told to dash.
Okay. Hey, I'm a Jedi.
Well, that was a sweet, simple, and quick tutorial. A letter appears for the first chapter that says if I quit, I'll return to wherever I was, and that means that this game, although difficult, won't be all that punishing. That meaning, the obstacles may be hard to clear based on what I've heard, but I won't be reset to the very start of a chapter or anything. The first part has a strawberry, and that looks tasty, so I grabbed it and then fell down a pit, so now I know I have to hold on to these things until presumably I reach the exit or else land on a safe spot. With a little struggling, I cleared this room, and now I should mention that I've been playing on a keyboard. I didn't grow up playing hardly any games with a controller, so I am much more comfortable with using a keyboard, but the control scheme has been confusing me thus far, and I tried to fix that problem by altering the controls to what I thought would be more suitable. I clear a few more rooms and come across a moving platform in a room with a winged strawberry that flew away.
Where'd the winged strawberry go? No, come back, winged strawberry. Oh, that doesn't...
I did manage to get that strawberry, but it wasn't until near the end of the game that I realized these things fly away when I dash. I hardly ran into them, and the few times I did, I just watched them fly away and scratch my head, but didn't think too much about it. I cleared a few more obstacles and then struggled on a few simple obstacles and came to the conclusion it was time to switch to the controller. No matter the control scheme I went for, I could not comfortably use all of my abilities on the keyboard. Looking back, I have an idea for a good control scheme, but the moment I moved to a controller, I started clearing rooms much faster, so I guess we're sticking with a controller for now. Just gotta relearn the controls real quick. While getting used to them, I saw this, interesting ad in the background. This is the only background element I noticed all game. Are there others? Did I just miss them? I'm a lot more focused on not dying repeatedly. Overall, the first chapter had pretty simple levels, or rooms, or whatever I should be calling these things, and that's great. I still struggled quite a bit as I adjusted to how the game works, how it wanted me to go about overcoming the obstacles, as well as getting used to the controls. It's a good introductory chapter, although I did really struggle with the moving platform thing that I had to build momentum off of. I have terrible timing for things like this. It's like bouncing platforms where you have to time a jump just right to get an extra jump off of them. Yeah, I suck at those. Not a problem with the game, just something I personally suck at. There was also one level that had me scratching my head. In hindsight, the level was pretty simple and not hard to figure out at all, but in the moment I was a bit lost, and now I know that there are some problem-solving puzzles in this game. I don't know why, but I didn't expect there to be puzzle solving in a platformer. I haven't played hardly any platformers where platforming is the main thing, but usually a secondary aspect of the game, so I don't know how normal that is in platforming, but it was quite satisfying when I did figure them out, and they were never so hard so as to be frustrating. Chapter 1 finishes with me reaching a memorial for those who have perished on the climb up Celeste Mountain, and I sleep at a campfire, and that's where Chapter 2 begins, only things look a little different now. At first I was a bit confused because all the levels were quite safe, and there was no clear direction I should be going. That was until I saw what looked like some broken rock and I dashed into it, breaking the thing. I'm pretty sure the game never told me I could do something like this, maybe it did and I missed it, so I wonder how someone who isn't very gaming language literate would treat seeing something like this. Would they dash into these broken rocks? At the same time, this platformer strikes me as one that's not meant for the ultra casual gamer. After some traveling, I come across this mirror.
Oh. Hi. How you doing?
My evil doppelganger escapes, and now the solid crystals blocking my path have been altered to a new form that I can dash through.
Whee! 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 Oh, this is fun.
This was probably one of my favorite chapters in the game, and only because these rock things that I could dash through. It's so much fun. I also found this room with platforms that alternate on a beat, and it's giving me some serious Super Mario vibes, but I cleared the area first try and get this cassette tape that says the B-side has been unlocked. Not sure what that is, but it's probably a safe assumption that it's an alternate form of the level I'm currently on, and is, in all likelihood, much more difficult. The only reason I found this tape is because I was actually lost. I was exploring more than I usually did the entire game because I didn't know where I was supposed to go and ended up finding every single room possible. I didn't actively avoid exploring for the most part while playing Celeste, but I do know I quite often miss things somewhere since the end of the levels mention how many strawberries are in a level alongside with how many I picked up, and I never got all of them, let alone saw them all. After being lost for a while, I headed back up and realized I could now go up higher, and considering how this game is about me climbing a mountain, I'm not sure why it didn't occur to me sooner to try climbing. I come across Evil Me.
Hello, little skeleton thing. Oh, you're not a skeleton, you're the thing.
And I find it quite funny that she says to slow down considering I was lost for quite a while. I don't need to slow down, I'm already slow. Which isn't great because Evil Me is following me now, and if I touch her, I die. This reminds me a lot of a certain level in Super Mario Galaxy! I absolutely loved these levels with the Evil Me following behind, and even more of them started following me in later parts of the level, chapter, whatever. As I mentioned, it reminds me of a level or two in Super Mario Galaxy where evil U's will mimic your every move. This means I can never stay still or else they'll catch up, and that I have to actively avoid crossing over the same path I have previously traveled. I'm not fully sure why I love this sort of thing, only that I find it incredibly fun. Maybe part of it is the thrill of being chased, pushes me to think more outside the box than normal. Sequences like this have frequently brought out the best in me in games, so I guess in the end that's probably why I like them so much, because it brings out the best in me. At the end of chapter 2, I discover I've been dreaming this whole time and a lamppost turns into a freaky monster and eats me. Well, guess I'm dead now. When I wake up, I see this super chill dude who looks like the kind of goofy guy who thinks he's cool but also knows that he thinks he is cooler than he actually is and treats it like a joke. I don't know if that sentence made any sense. I just know that at the time I wasn't interested in talking with someone and I just wanted to move on to chapter 3, so let's do that. This brings me to the chapter I struggled with the most. It's all themed around some broken down hotel that this ghost is haunting, but he's also not a dangerous ghost, more like a guy trying to earn an honest living. The problem I had with these levels was a bunch of black and red chunks that could kill me. I don't really understand why, but I had an incredibly hard time avoiding these things. There were also these floors and walls covered in worms or something that meant that once I touched the space they were on, it would become corrupted, meaning I had maybe a second I could stand on one of these spaces before I die. For some reason, I don't like these hardly at all.
Wait, how did I make it the first time?
I would think it's the kind of thing that would push me to my best, similar to the evil clones, but it never hit the same. It might just be that I'm a competitive person, so having someone actively chasing me is more fun than dealing with traps, or maybe it's because I was constantly thinking about my next move while being chased, but for traps like this, I'm only thinking move. I don't know, I just found the difference in how I thought about them interesting. At some point, I decide to help the ghost clean up the hotel because apparently that's my responsibility now. At the very least, I just have to press a button and then a bunch of mess will clean itself up. Magic is wonderful. Guess the ghost guy probably can't push the button himself, so I'm the only one around who can. I also saw this glowing blue heart thing while doing this. I never figured out how to get it, but I'm really curious as to what it does. Theo was also in the hotel, and this scene really confused me because he was messing with a vent and climbed into it. I didn't pay much attention to the dialogue at the time, but looking at it now, apparently Theo is afraid of the ghost and is going through the vents to escape to the outside. I think the ghost is a good guy, but Theo is not going along with it and is gone. Pretty lame, Theo.
Oh, he's the imposter!
I do run into him later as he appears to be struggling with navigating the vents, and he tells me again to abandon the ghost guy. I stick around because I don't want him to have a meltdown, but Theo's convinced he will anyways. Guess we'll see who is right now that I've reached the presidential suites and... Wait, Bad Me eggs him on and turns him evil. That's not fair. He would have been fine without Evil Me attacking him for no reason. Well, guess this brings me to what might as well be a boss battle. This was pretty fun. It was largely normal platforming with just the added threat of the ghost man attacking me. I could even stomp on his head like the Jumpman Mario himself. It didn't make much of a difference though. The platforming for this section was also the hardest yet. In particular, the last portion of the sequence. I was having a lot of trouble accounting for the movement of the ghost and the black blobs at the same time, but even with that said, I nearly finished it on one of the first tries, but then the ghost hit me a frame or two before escaping, and that's the absolute worst. The second before I finished. I wasn't able to repeat what I had done just before and ended up struggling with this one obstacle for another 5 minutes before finally finishing it and completing chapter 3. On to chapter 4, and Granny's here.
I'll just stay here forever. I can listen to this all day.
On to the first levels, where there's these bubbles that reset my dash while also functioning as a dash themselves, and oh no, there's bouncy clouds? No. I can't time my jump with a jump. Oh gosh darn it. I really struggled for quite a while with one of these super easy levels because I was having the hardest time, timing my jumps correctly, and after so many failed attempts, I would finally get one and then react a little too slow and die. Chapter 4 also introduces wind, and oh, that's just great. Wind at my back was kind of fun because I could jump super far, but wind on my face just meant I had to move slowly. I did enjoy it for the fact that the formula was still being consistently mixed up, but gosh darn it, I was not looking forward to bouncing clouds and wind. There was also these platforms that move when I was standing or holding onto them, and it wasn't until I came to this one room with the strawberry that I learned some of them could be moved while standing on them. Dang. That's 3 new mechanics all in one level. It's kind of shocking they threw so much into one. A lot of games just introduced one new mechanic, but hey, it did make it feel quite different than the other ones that came before it, and they do this with other levels as well, so good. The moving platforms also required some of the most problem solving out of any of the little puzzles. At first I thought I could just ride them to wherever I needed to go, but some of the puzzles required me to position them and then jump off and then back on again, and it took me longer than I'd like to admit to figure that out. There was one in particular I got stuck on for quite a while because I had to first climb onto it, then get on top of it, push it down, back up, slide off the top, and then climb onto the side again. It just got the good old brain juices flowing. There was a different one that took a while, but that's just because I didn't realize I had to break the block that was in the way, and then I had to figure out how to break it fast enough, and then I had to run out in front of the moving block a second time to remove another obstacle. I actually finished this chapter a bit faster than several others, which surprises me, so I guess I didn't struggle that much. Either that or it's just a shorter chapter. The end of the chapter sees me and Theo in a trolley, and there's this thing with a feather and breathing, and oh, this game is about anxiety, isn't it? Not sure how I feel about that, but okay, I'm not really the kind of guy who enjoys the you're doing one thing, but it's all a metaphor for another thing type of game or story or what have you, so we'll see how this goes. The next chapter has blocks that move when I dash, and it would appear Theo has gone missing. There's also red bubbles in this chapter, and these ones carry you as far as they can go before hitting something. This chapter made me feel anxiety because there were also several platforms that don't appear into, the spot you need to be until after you dash. No matter how many times I did this, I always felt nervous jumping into oblivion even though I knew the platform would catch me in time. After some searching, I found Theo in a mirror, and Theo, how'd you get yourself in there? Why are you so chill about this situation? This is also the level I learned that flying strawberries fly away when you dash, and I used that knowledge to get what might have been my second total flying strawberry at the time. The puzzle here also had me thinking a bit differently. If you ask me, there's at least 2 ways the strawberry could be acquired, and I kept trying one path until a rather simple solution dawned on me. I've always felt like I view puzzles differently than most people, and things that many people think are obvious I see as unclear. It might be that I'm just a very direct person in how I think about things and try to find the simplest path from A to B, which leads me to overlook some of the more roundabout methods, but at the same time, there are some puzzles where I find the solution much faster than anyone else. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Do you ever feel like you think of puzzles differently than everyone else around you? It's a lot of fun being a YouTuber and being criticized for not seeing things that others think are very obvious just because you see things differently. It's not an excuse, just that I'm weird in that way, and I'm curious if anyone else thinks they're weird. These levels were pretty simple, and I found what I thought was a bathtub at first until I removed the curtain and was sucked into a mirror. Oh, guess I know what happened to Theo now, but also maybe not, because now I'm looking at a small Eye of Cthulhu from Terraria, and after staring at that for a solid 20 seconds, I realized I can move the thing. I thought I was watching a cutscene. I didn't think I was in control. Guess it's time to eat me. Now these eyes are hostile and appear in many of the levels. It's like having the ghost, but he doesn't go through walls and can actively break some of them. I really enjoyed these levels. Not nearly as much as the evil clones following me, but it was good fun. There were times I hated them because I was certain I had stomped on their head, but instead ended up dead, but that's okay. They're also fun because I had to use them to solve certain puzzles by hitting certain things. It was fine for all the levels except one where it took absolutely forever to get the thing to hit the block I needed it to hit because there wasn't any good angles I could find. I cleared it eventually by blindly moving around trying to figure it out until I managed to latch onto the block, and that fixed the problem. The last section of the chapter is also absolutely awesome. Theo is trapped in a crystal and now I have to carry him through the levels. I would think an escort mission like this would suck, but it was some of the most fun I had in the game.
Whoosh! Whoosh!
It was so dumb that I enjoyed this as much as I did, but I did. I also hadn't cared about Theo, but then I had to throw him onto a button and this dialogue box appeared, and I just liked it so much that now I really actually care about him. But I guess not enough to not abandon him.
Alright, you can survive this, right?
You can't!
I am doing this fully expecting him to die!
That's right, I really did expect Theo to die when I threw him into the sharp crystals, but then he didn't die and I learned something new. Good job, Theo, way to go. This sequence ended with this eye thing in the way and I couldn't get past it myself, so
Theo, you take it on. Oh, it worked!
I honestly didn't expect that to work that time either. The end of this chapter has Theo and myself sitting down and chatting, and you know, it won me over with this whole anxiety conversation. It actually had some sincere dialogue on it that didn't gloss over real problems people face or ignore what is often going through people's minds when they are faced with anxiety or depression. And I like that they don't treat these things like they're some sort of disease to be cured, but something to be faced and worked through. These feelings are all part of the normal human experience. We all go through times of great sorrow and anxiety, and the way we go about dealing with these emotions will determine the kind of person we will be. It's not easy, and nobody can face these challenges on their own. I like this part. I like some of the dialogue that they have later, but not nearly as much as this one scene. I wake up early to the northern lights and use the power of magical feathers to fly high up into the mountains where I confront my evil self, and she ain't having it. Breathing fails me, and I'm tossed all the way back down the mountain to this new pretty place. In order to continue, I had to figure out how to use these weird looking thwomp things.
Hello. Oh.
Turns out it moves in the opposite direction I dash into it. There are other feathers in this level, and I have a light bulb moment when I realize I can dash on these thwomp things multiple times to get them to go around a level as opposed to just one direction.
Oh no. Ah! Oh, I live.
This place was pretty fun, though it had puzzles similar to the ones with blocks I had to stand on. The main similarity being that I had to ride a block while also jumping out ahead to remove an obstacle or complete certain tasks. Needless to say, I got stuck on puzzles like this for quite a while, either figuring out the puzzle or failing to pull off what I needed to. There was also bouncing things, and I find these oddly satisfying. Just don't hit them while in feather form. Oh, Granny!
Yes, laugh. Yes.
Some other obstacles took me a while, but the end of this chapter brings me to another boss battle, but this time against Evil Me. I had to complete some platforming while she shoots some projectiles at me. She even has a Moonlord laser, or at least that's what I call it as someone who's coming from a Terraria space. Check out my Terraria YouTube channel, Thorbin, if that kind of content interests you. I didn't find this battle all that difficult, but it was also quite fun. I learned pretty quickly that pressing the offensive and going as fast as possible often gave me the best results, but wasn't always the best decision. The big laser could also be dodged by sound cues alone, but the double projectiles were tough for me. I had some conversation with Evil Me after crushing her under my boot, and I'm blessed with the power of pink hair. Now I can double jump. Wait, why am I having flashbacks to LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga? That's chapter 6, and Evil Me and I have some things to work out as I head up to the last level in the story, and I'm stoked that I get to keep my double jump.
Yes, I have pink hair powers now. I am unstoppable! Darn it!
The beginning of this chapter is split into several sections in 500-meter increments. Evil me will also toss me near the end of each section.
Toss me. Oh, ah!
Each of the sections are themed off of previous chapters, and it was nice revisiting some of the mechanics, in particular the sparkling blocks I can dash through, but revisiting the hotel-themed levels was not appreciated.
Pink hair powers, activate! Yeah!
I did find this weird gold thing in this section and have no idea what it does, but I did collect it. The wind levels also had stupidly strong wind, and the puzzle that took the longest out of any of the puzzles in the entire game. It took me over 10 minutes for this one puzzle, and I'm so glad it's behind me. And yes, I am aware there are far harder levels and puzzles and what have you after this chapter, but we aren't getting to those in this video. The level directly after that, though, had me confused because the strawberry pass struck me as the easier one, and I thought I had completed it and then sat waiting to be brought to the next level, but that's not how it works.
Gosh! Darn it!
Eventually, I find myself to a flag with a number 30, and I've officially entered the final countdown. This section felt the weirdest of all of them. There was no consistency in the difficulty between numbers. I could clear 5 in a row without even thinking about it, and then there's one puzzle that puzzles me for several minutes. Number 20 in particular had me really confused, and I'm still not sure if I did it the way that you're supposed to, but I did end up getting past it, so I guess that counts. I made it to the final 4, and then number 1 I did on the first try, and here I am, the top of the mountain, finally reconciling with evil me. What a lovely sight. And that's Celeste. What a fun game. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, and I'll definitely be playing it more, but for the purposes of these videos, I always play the games blind and focus on just the main meat of the game. Maybe one could argue that the other levels are part of that main meat as well, but the mountaintop seems like a good ending to me. I'm honestly not sure what else to say. It's one of the few platformers I've ever played, and it was difficult, but not overly punishing. If I had to restart levels from the beginning, I would have quit a long time ago, but it doesn't do that, and I appreciate it. The story is nice, and I can see why it means a lot to some people, and having that story sandwiched with a solid game makes this a must-have in my book.